Welcome to Spark Infinity Office Hours. Actually, it is not office hours, it's until it sticks, where creative journeys unfold in real time. In these intimate sessions, our hosts and our guests open their creative playbooks to share fresh discoveries, current experiments, and hard won insights from their personal artistic paths. Whether diving into recent breakthroughs or working through creative challenges, each Until It Sticks session offers a raw, unfiltered look at the creative process in action. Join us to explore the practical tools, mindset shifts, and unexpected revelations that shape our ongoing artistic evolution. The quote of the day goes something like this: An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Who said that? Benjamin Franklin. Today's date is February 6th, 2025. We've got another wonderful guest with us today. She has a lot of experience, or extensive experience, in musical performance, or musical theater rather, and she's an education veteran. She also happens to be the founder of Phoenix Inspired Coaching. Joining me today is Maria Foster Luengo. She's got too many names. I don't know. How are you, Maria?
How are you, David Andrew? I'm really
Everybody's
well,
good.
and thank you so much for that kind introduction. Yes, I am a school counselor and a life coach with Phoenix Inspired Coaching, and I have 30 years of experience in the public education system. So if you want to know anything about public education from K to 12, provincially or right across Canada, I am the person to talk to because I've got my pulse on the people.
I'm also someone with too many names, but Maria, what are two or three things you would like them to know?
Yeah, so what I'd like people to know is that my whole life has had a thread of social justice woven through it. I think ever since I discovered that I was different than my brothers because I was a girl and that my parents favored them, I immediately started my social justice work about equality, and I've done lots of work with the Two Spirit LGBTQ community, winning an award from the Pride Society for my work in making schools safe. I speak four languages, which is my superpower, and my purpose in life is that kids be happy, that they be safe, and that they be seen and heard for who they are. And that is the commitment that I stand in every day when I do the work that I do with students and empowering parents to say goodbye to power struggles and say hello to real connections with kids.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your musical theater experience. So, how did you get started in that?
Oh my gosh. So I have always loved music since I was a kid, and I don't come from a musical family. My mother grew up playing the piano, and when she married my father and moved to Canada from Mexico, we never had a piano in the house. She never taught us piano. She never gave us piano lessons or encouraged that. I actually got involved with music and musical theater in my elementary school. I remember trying out on auditioning for various parts. And when we were in elementary school, it wasn't so much an audition as the teacher picking who's going to be who in what production. So the first role that I ever had was playing Jesus in a musical. And I always thought it was interesting that I was the a girl playing a boy in a musical, and I really enjoyed that part. I dressed up in Jesus with a long robe and I had a beard. It was really great, and I sang a bunch of songs. And what I remember about musical theater is this incredible ability to express myself through music. Like, it was as if it was another language. So by then I was already speaking Spanish, I was already speaking French, and it was like my third language. And what I enjoyed about musical theater was there was like this excitement about it. There was like this anxiety about performing in front of people. And what worked about musical theater is team and teamwork. Like, we harmonized, we worked with other people. People had lines, I had lines, everyone had to know when to come in. So it was really this great opportunity to work with other people and learn how to get along and not get along, and how to be with whatever happens, because all sorts of things happen when you're doing musical with kids. You're doing a run through and then Jamie barfs on someone's shoe and that's then everyone has to stop, and then we regroup as people. I had a great elementary school teacher at Margaret Pendlebury Elementary School, and I don't remember her name, but I remember she wore stage makeup every day to work, and that she had a background in theater, and she's the one who organized all the musicals. And after playing Jesus, my next role was the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And I still remember the dance moves. I still remember the song because, as you know from the book, the Cheshire Cat speaks in gibberish like, "'Twas brillig and the slithy groves, dear gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borrow groves, and the mom rats out grab." And so I do remember that from way back. I must have been in grades 4 or 5. And that's the other thing that's really great about music is that music often allows us to access memories that for me happened over 50 years ago.
Mm.
And so I love that connection between music and memory. I'm sure that there are studies out there in which people use music therapy with Alzheimer's patients and people who have, cognitive memory issues, whether it be short term or long term. I'm sure that there's a total connection between memory and music. And then my parents did something which I thought was one of the worst things that ever happened in my life at the age of 16 during a winter break around December 24th or 25th. My father sat us down as a family and informed the entire family that we were moving within a week to a place called Vancouver, British Columbia.
Hmm.
And I was absolutely devastated. No, I was actually really devastated.
I believe it. I believe it.
What was present for me was that I was 16 years old. And the only place I knew was St. Lambert, Montreal, where I grew up, my field hockey team, my musical theater group. By then, I was in high school. I was in a very small high school with about 500 people. I had my best friend Janice at the school. And there I was, my parents telling me that we were moving and we had no say in the matter. And nobody asked us how we felt about it. And I was so angry and resentful, and you have no idea. Like, I was angry and resentful for probably about the next 30 years until I got complete with it. And I remember arriving in Vancouver, and it was the first week in January. I was in grade 10. Everybody had their cliques, their groups that they belonged to, their best friends. In Vancouver, it was quite insular. I found people's parents went to school together, their grandparents went to school together, their great-grandparents went to school together. I was beginning to wonder, does anybody ever move in or out of Vancouver? So everybody knew each other from like their parents knowing each other to their grandparents knowing each other. And I arrived that first day at school and I sat down with the school counselor who didn't really have a connection with me. I didn't know her. And she sat down to give me a schedule in the middle of the year. And basically, she gave me all the academics that I required. And then she put me into choir because there was space in that course. And she put me into drama because there was space in that course. And I remember walking in to my first class, which happened to be choir. And picture this. I open up the wooden door and I don't understand that when I open it up, I see risers with 100 people facing me. And there's a choir director which is back to me and he's playing the piano. And I walk in and I don't like they're doing a warm up. And I'm curious as to how do I interrupt this without everybody looking at me? But I've already walked into the room and everybody's looking at me. I had this like nauseous feeling in my stomach. I totally wanted to throw up. I wanted to run out the door for sure and just like block it with my body and not go inside. And unfortunately, by then, the choir teacher had seen that everybody was looking in my direction. He turned around. He asked me who I was. I said in a very low voice, "My name's Maria." He then said, "Are you like a soprano or an alto? Do you know?" And I said, "I don't know. I didn't know. I never knew. No one ever told me whether I was a soprano or an alto."
Hmm.
And I had been in musical theater in elementary school. I had been in a church choir, but no one ever told me whether I was an alto or a soprano. So he asked me to sing a couple of bars in front of 100 people. That was fun. And I just thought, oh, the world needs to just crack open and I need to slip through this because I have got to go to an alternate universe. This is just so anxiety provoking for me. Anyway, as a people pleaser, he played a couple of notes. I sang a couple of notes with that. I'm grateful that I have perfect fit pitch. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, yeah, and I'll go stand over there." And that was the start of my journey with the choir group. And yeah, it was a great choir. I was inspired by our choir teacher. He was exceptional at teaching and creating team and teamwork in choir. I know that we participated in lots of competitions and we won lots of competitions. And in fact, somewhere in grade 10, 11, or 12, we recorded an album that I still have about music that we sang and put on there. And I think it was very grounding to have a teacher actually record an album with their students. And I thought it was fantastic.
Hmm. I'm curious, did you actually come to enjoy Vancouver though? Because it seems like you stayed.
Well, yeah, I am currently in Vancouver, full disclosure. So so I guess, yeah, so there I am, and I'm 16 years old, and then, I remember not having any friends for sure when I first arrived. I mean, it's the middle of the year, everyone's got their friends, they've been friends with each other since kindergarten. I come along, everyone's trying to speak French to me because I'm from Montreal, but I'm actually not francophone, and I do speak French, and their French was absolutely deplorable. So I
Hmm.
didn't even understand what they were saying because I'm like, that's actually not French. It's comment ça va, not comment ça va. And uh, I befriended a group of people, or maybe they befriended me. I'm not sure how it happened, but somewhere along my journey in grade 10, 11, and 12, I met up with a very eclectic group of people. And out of that group, one of them became a medical doctor, one of them became a psychiatric doctor, one of them became an exceptional clothing designer, and currently lives in New Jersey and spent her entire career in the clothing industry in New Jersey, working for all sorts of famous designers. And there was myself who went into teaching, and it was a really great group of people. And I did carry that anger and resentment about being moved to Vancouver against my will for about the next 40 years, to be honest.
Well,
Um, One of the interesting things that happened in high school was we did have musicals. I auditioned for every one of them. After all, I was in choir, I was in drama. People encouraged me to audition. And I never was chosen to be in any of the musicals. And that was devastating because I was a very open, social, I thought I was a good actor. I thought I could sing. At that point, I was taking some music lessons. And that was really interesting because one of the best singers in the choir, Patty, her name was Patty something. She was taking lessons. I found out through somebody who found out through somebody who found out through somebody who her singing teacher was. And I immediately signed up and I took singing lessons with her. So I was thinking, I'm involved in all this choir and theater and I'm taking music lessons. I've got to be able to audition and get a part. I never did get a part. And I was angry and resentful about that for many, many years too.
hmm. Well, we do share something in common there, and I guess I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but it's kind of a parallel experience. Which, when I was returning from Japan to Canada, we ultimately ended up moving back to Calgary. I was aligned with the decision because it was after my father had passed away,
Mm,
and we made the choice to be surrounded by family.
Yes.
So I was aligned with that decision, but I don't know if I ever fully I embraced
Understood.
Calgary, but did I fully
Mm,
love it? Because, like, when I went to grade 9, same experience as you, it was a brand new junior high school, but everyone knew each other already.
yes.
So breaking into a social circle was, I think it ended up being nerds and geeks, which
Yes.
I'm conversing. I don't know if that's the exact right place for me in a social circle, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
I think I need to hit the rewind button a little bit too, and talk about like how is it that you ended up with that Jesus role? It seems like there might be a story there.
Well, my parents so my mother is Catholic, my father is a non-practicing Protestant, and my mother wanted me in a Catholic school.
Yeah,
So I was in a private was I in public? I think in Montreal, we have, like, several different school districts. One of them is the public Catholic school, the private Catholic school. I don't know if we call them public. I think we call them public Catholic schools, and I went to a public Catholic school. We didn't wear uniforms, so it wasn't like a private school, and, I played Jesus in, I'm pretty sure it was either there or Margaret Pendlebury, and I'm not flat, but I did end up playing Jesus, and there was this one song that we sang, "From Jerusalem to Jericho, the road is long and dark." And then the choir would sing, "It's long and dark from Jerusalem to Jericho." Anyway, how I ended up playing Jesus, I have no idea, and, I don't remember that, and it was a really great experience, and I was awesome. I'm just putting it out there.
right on. Is I'm guessing musical theater is still something that's a passion for you today, right?
Oh my gosh, so when I realized that I did some personal work around some anger and resentment that I've been carrying around for many years. The first thing that I resolved was the anger and resentment that I had towards my parents to moving to Vancouver, BC, which to me seemed like a completely different country. The people were different, they
Yeah.
acted different, they spoke differently, they had different customs, and I honestly thought I was in a different country. Um, the second thing that I resolved was this whole thing with happened with my auditions in high school and how I wasn't picked, and then I made it mean that I didn't have any talent. Well, for the next many, many years after I graduated from high school, I'd sing at a karaoke bar, maybe with my friends when we were out. I'd be at a birthday party and sing happy birthday. I'd be singing at the campsite or something. And strangers would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you sing really well. Like, are you in a choir? Do you do opera? Like, are you in musical theater? Like, you seem the kind of person who would be on stage. You're very animated. You move your hands around. You seem comfortable talking to people." And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a teacher in a high school." And they were like, "What? Like you didn't do any musical theater?" And I said, "No, I didn't do any musical theater." And they're like, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, I auditioned and then I wasn't picked and I had it that I didn't have talent." And they're like, "No, no, you can actually sing. Like you can carry a tune. You seem like you can act." And so between high school, when I wasn't picked for the auditions, to that moment, the only other time I'd been on stage was when I was working at a high school in which we were doing a production of Fiddler on the Roof. So the kids were doing that production, and the music director and I were thick as thieves. We were like the best of friends. And he came up to me one day to say, "Our Fiddler on the Roof, who is in this band at school, has decided that they have a fear of heights, and now they will not sit on the top of the roof to start off the entire musical, where you start off with the solo with the fiddle. Na 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 na." I don't know what the tune was. I don't think it was, "If I was na na na." I don't know if it was that one, but anyway, they didn't wanna sit on top of the roof because when they tried to go up the ladder, they realized that they had a fear of heights.
Hmm.
So he said, "The show starts next week, and I'm looking for somebody that can just get on the roof, play the fiddle, and start the show." And he said, "Look, you weigh like 100 pounds wet, and you're a responsible adult. Would you be willing to be the fiddler on the roof?" And I'm like, it's the kids show. It's not like typically the adults in the schools don't play roles in the musicals that kids have. But then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I have been through this rodeo once where I auditioned and I didn't get a part. And I'm like, if somebody's offering me the part, why would I say no? Like, what would be a logical reason for me saying no? And they don't have time enough to get a kid up there. None of the other kids want to do it, and everyone's been offered the part. And I'm like, I looked him straight in the eye and I said, Mr. David Nix, I accept your offer and I will be the fiddler on the roof. Now, what your audience doesn't know is that I don't play the violin or the fiddle. Okay? So this is what I did. I took a videotape. I made a videotape of the student who was supposed to be the fiddler on the roof from behind so that I could imitate every stroke. And what that allowed me to do was look as if I was actually playing the fiddle. So what the audience heard was him playing the fiddle. What they saw was me playing it and thinking that I was the one playing it.
Hmm.
And what else your audience doesn't know is I also have a fear of heights.
Yeah.
Why would I want to be up this rickety thing that the kids built? And I've got to get up on the roof in the dark and get down in the dark. So they roll me out on the stage when it's all dark and the curtains are closed. Then they open up the curtains, the light goes on, and I'm spotlighted. Anyway, I did it anyway, despite the fact that I had a fear of heights, because I was going to cause this breakthrough around fulfilling on something that I didn't fulfill on as a high school student. And I was great. And everyone thought that I was the person playing the fiddle. In fact, they thanked me about how well I played. I thanked them back. Yep, I really do play well, and that wasn't me. And then after that, I wanted to be on stage again, so I auditioned for a musical theater group in Vancouver called the Broadway Chorus. They've been around for over 30 years. They write their own musicals and perform them twice a year. I auditioned. Surprisingly enough, they accepted me into the group, and there I find myself only wanting to be in the choir. Don't give me a solo because, I don't know and I don't know if I want to do it and it seems like a lot of work. And I joined the group. I ended up with 2 speaking roles and had such a great time. I have to say, up until the performance, I think at every rehearsal that we had, I was feeling rather anxious. And once I got on stage, I was fine. But it was incredible to be able to learn how to sing my 6-part harmony, because we sing in 6-part harmonies, find my lane in which I was singing in and maintain it, then incorporate the lines that I had and the choreography. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, like, that really took something, and it was amazing, and it was so great to have approximately 40 of my friends in the audience, right in the front row, coming to every show, cheering for me, rooting for me, giving me great feedback, and at the end of the production, they all looked at me and they said, "Oh my gosh, like, that was so amazing. What else have you performed in?" And I was like, "Well, I had a non-speaking role as a fiddler on the roof, and then I didn't do anything since I was in high school." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is kind of like my first official show." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, we would have never have known if you didn't tell us." It just seemed like it was you being super comfortable on the stage, and it was as if I wasn't even acting, like I was Carol Channing, because that's one of the characters I played, and I was the witch. That was the other character that I played, this witch in the show. And so it was really amazing, and I definitely will continue with Broadway Chorus because music is a way of expressing myself in a way that I can't do it in any other way.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it brings so much joy. Like, now I'm gonna cry. It just brings so much joy. And it brings so much joy to other people, you know? And what I love about musical theater is I love the music, I love harmonizing, I love choreography, and I really enjoy those moments, although a part of me doesn't, when somebody misses a line or somebody bumps into somebody or somebody doesn't come on stage who is supposed to come on stage to start the next scene. And somehow as a group, we all sort it out. Like somehow there's this like telepathic knowing that it's all going to be sorted out. And that's the magic of theater. The magic of theater is when you aren't singing, it's the music that's singing you and you aren't acting anymore. It's like the words just have a life of their own beyond you as an individual. And I don't know how else to explain that.
Music is amazing, and I don't even know if we'd be doing these interviews at all if not for my passion of music in the first place. Similarly, I love theater. I've been many times. I actually got to go on field trips in like grade 9 to Theatre Calgary. That's one of the great things about that school, I have to say. And it's clear that you are a performer. You also did some curious photo shoots for calendar. So,
Yes. Yes, I did. I I decided one year I was working in a high school and I put together a Halloween costume really, really quickly. And I decided that I was going to be a fairy. I made it the night before. There's great things that you can do with a couple of extra yards of fabric and a glue gun. Let me tell you, there's amazing things that you can create. And in that moment that I dressed up the next day as a fairy and I walked into work, I dressed up as Tinkerbell. I really had this kind of like this real connection with fairies. And that year, I created a calendar where I was a fairy with incredible wings and hats and leather masks. And I sent it to all my family and friends around December the 15th. They received it for the Christmas holidays, and I didn't put a return address on the envelopes. So all these people from around the world, Mexico, Montreal, Ottawa, Spain, opened up these envelopes to see this like magical being with glorious wings and pixie stardust and all this other stuff, and in these incredible sceneries, like really incredible backdrops in nature. With incredible vistas and views and the colors of the leaves and incredible flowers. um, and I think most of them didn't know who actually was in the photos until they got to like the 3rd or 4th month, and then they realized it was me, and that's when the phone calls started coming in saying, "Oh my gosh, we had no idea it was you." And it was amazing, and it was so playful, and it was so much fun.
well, thanks so much, Maria. This has been fantastic. Everyone can find her, or you can find her at phoenixinspiredcoaching.com.